Good morning. You're welcome to Homerstone Limited webinar. We are just waiting for a few more people to join before we kickstart officially. So once it's 11:05, which is like in 3 minutes, we would start. Once again, thank you for joining. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Homerstone's March edition of a webinar titled You Can Be a World-Class Engineer. We are excited that you're on board, ready to learn and gain from the wealth of knowledge that we'll be dishing out today. I hope everyone can hear me. If you can't hear me, please leave a comment in the chat box so I know. Okay, since I'm not getting any response, I'd assume everyone can hear me. So you're welcome to Homerstone Limited. Homerstone Limited is a training and manpower development company. Basically, we empower you to perform. So what we do is that we train unskilled personnel and we turn them into invaluable assets. That's like any organization you go to, you're going to be a valuable asset there because you're going to have all the required skills, knowledge, and everything needed to perform on the job. So as part of our way of giving back, we put together a webinar which holds every month. And this is the edition for March. We had one last month, and we hope you join us in subsequent ones. Without further ado, let's get right in. So today we're going to be having our Chief Operating Officer in person of Mr. Taiwo Soyinwo speak to us. A brief rundown of his bio. Mr. Taiwo Soyinwo is an accomplished engineer with more than 15 years of engineering project delivery development and 5 years in training and manpower capacity. He's currently the Chief Operating Officer of Homerstone Limited, where he currently designs and implements business operations, oversee the operations of the company and the training, and most importantly, assists the Chief Executive Officer. He is a BSc graduate of the University of Portsmouth, UK, and holds a Master's in Advanced Mechanical Engineering from the University of Warwick, UK. He's currently undergoing an executive management program, which part of the reason why you're here, he has 11 years experience delivering on many projects. So we are here to basically learn from the experience he has gathered over time, especially if you're looking to delve into the engineering space. He has worked on projects with ExxonMobil, Total, and CNL on NNPC joint ventures as a discipline engineer. His wealth of experience has helped pilot the company into training delivery company of choice in the oil and gas sector. He garnered his engineering skills as a piping designer at the National Engineering and Technical Company, for short NESCO, and Delta Africa Engineering, rising through the ranks to supervising engineering holding. He is happily married to Falake and they are blessed with 2 girls. And he is going to be the facilitator of today's webinar, which is titled, You Can Be a World-Class Engineer. You can be anything you want to, and we don't just want you to stop at focusing on your local space. We want you to, dream big, think of how you could be the world-class engineer. So thank you. And right about now, I'll be handing over to Mr. Taiwo. So, by the way, please, if you have questions, comments, please leave them in the chat box and they'll be attended to in due time. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. So good morning, everybody. As you have been introduced, my name is Mr. Taiwo Soyinwo, and I'm a director at Homerstone Limited. Let me just switch on my video so you can see me. Yeah. So today we're going to be having the first of my series of webinars, which is how to let you know how you can become a successful engineer in the oil and gas sector and in any other sector that you desire to be in, even if it's not engineering. So what I'm going to be using now is my experience in the oil and gas sector, how I got there, and I like this to be interactive. What I went through to get in there, that's what I'm going to be talking about. The focus that I had to have to achieve all that I achieved in that space. And then deciding to come into where we are right now as a world-class training and manpower development company, which is passing on all that knowledge onto the younger generation and the next level of engineers to be taken over from the graybeard engineers that are in the
Sorry,
country.
Mr. T.
Yeah.
Someone said they can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it seems they can't hear you.
Okay.
I think your voice is low. So
okay.
Yes.
Okay, no problem. I will project. Okay, so let's start. Let me share my screen. Okay. So can you all hear me, right? Can you hear me now? If you can, just give me your thumbs up. Right? And we have the thumbs up button on that will let me know that you can all hear me before I start. Okay, I see 2 people can hear me. Okay. Okay, so let's start. So as I've been introduced, just to correct some information, is 13 years experience in engineering project delivery. I've been training and running the training and manpower section of our organization as a co-founder with another executive director. If you were here last month, Mr. Joseph Piru. I'm a graduate of the University of Portsmouth, and I have an MSc in Advanced Mechanical Engineering, which is what led me into the oil and gas industry. And I, from there, started my career at Netco as an NYSC, moved up into becoming a temporary staff over there. Stayed with them for 2 years. You'll see all the work I did in Netco, and then moved on to be one of the pioneer staff of Delta Afrique Engineering Limited. I served in Delta Afrique for 10 years, about 8 years, and then moved into Hummerston Limited, where I am right now. So, obviously, you know about us. Just this is a snapshot of what we have achieved. We're a training company. We've delivered 21 projects successfully with the NCDMB and with other companies as well. We've trained 187 plus graduates in skills and competency to be able to do what I have done over my years. Most of them are now in the oil and gas sector. Most of them are in other countries. Most of them are working as engineers right now, specialized engineers, based on their knowledge that they gained with us. So this is just a track record of training. So the first thing we want to talk about here is a world engineer. And for me, there are 5 attributes that define a world engineer. You must be employability. You must have the capability, that is to be able to work and ply your trade anywhere in the world. You must be valued. People must be actually requiring your skills. When they see your CV, they must actually be wanting to meet you. And that's all because of your experience and what you have gained over over the years of your career. Another thing is that number 4, you must be competent. You cannot become a world engineer if you are not competent in what you do, if you do not know how to perform what you do effectively and efficiently, and if you do not know how to deliver. You must be competent. And lastly, respected. Most world engineers in the fields are respected. And while we're on this, I will use an example of how I got to know that I was respected when I was in one of my offshore international locations delivering a job. So we'll go through that, and based on what we discuss, I want to have a lot of questions from those that are here with us today. So piping engineering, that's my core area. I started that in NETCO in 1999 when I finished my MSc. I came back, and one of the areas that I was very, very strong in building my technical knowledge was in the area of analysis. That's carried out a lot of analysis in the form of stress analysis and computational fluid dynamics while I was in my university days. I got so engrossed in that I wanted to come back home and be able to use that. And eventually I got to realize that the only place I could use a lot of what I had learned was going into the oil and gas industry. It was the most developed industry then, and it was an industry that allowed you to learn and apply your trade, and as well as deliver that knowledge anywhere. So relevant. You, as a piping engineer, you must be relevant, right? How do you become relevant? You become relevant by putting a concerted effort into knowing and delivering on the job. You cannot become relevant by just showing up and being part of the team. You must actually make a concerted effort to do and deliver and prove that you can deliver in that space. Technically wise, a lot of knowledge is available to be gained while you are in the career as a piping engineer. You will see from my chronological experience that I started right from the bottom, and that was because I needed to learn the different aspects of the discipline, which is starting first as a CAD designer, then moving up. Even though I was an engineer by training and by academia, I still stepped down to work with the CAD designers to understand, okay, we are in this sector now. I need to understand the terminologies, the symbols, how to deliver in the engineering department, which is piping engineering. So that knowledge, I had to drop down a level, be humble, and begin to learn. When I had begun to connect quite a number of aspects of my academia with what I was now charting as a career, I began to build competency. And I was able to show that even early enough, in less than 2 years, in the CAD design draftsman position, where I was able to take all the knowledge and the learning, connect it to what the project specifically was on, and then deliver for my leads and the senior engineers in my team competent drawings that could help them move on with the engineering design. Now, that now moved me to be valuable. valuable in the sense that I was now the go-to person for a number of activities that I had shown I was knowledgeable and competent enough to deliver. Now, that value earned me, how will I say it? In my NYSC, I was one of the only ones that was earmarked to go offshore on brownfield verification. That's going to one of the ExxonMobil platforms. Now, normally, NYSCs don't get to go there. And we spent 14 days with my project lead, my piping lead, and the senior engineers, because they saw the value in my work and what I was putting and helping them with. So your value is very, very important. Then your experience begins to grow. And since 1999, and when I eventually left the sector, I built my experience based on relevance, knowledge, competency, and value. And that experience is what I'm going to share with you today. So my experience, these are 4 of my prized experiences offshore with some of the world-class engineering or establishments that you would come to hear about. Delta Afrique, where I gained most of my experience. Worley Parsons, when they came and joined forces with Delta Afrique to give us a strong competency hand. Sergi and Stolt Offshore, where I moved to Houston and Paris to deliver engineering deliverables, as well as specialized engineering roles in those companies. Technip FMC was one of the companies where I started off in as showing my skill sets in the specialized area that I'm known for right now as a stress engineer. When I was in there, I was able to gain more experience and show my value. And I keep, till date, I keep a very close relationship with one of the Malaysian engineers that was on that job. So over the period of my travels, I was able to show that experience that I had gained earlier on in my life. I was able to show that value. I was able to be technical enough to be able to deliver with the team. And this is a team of multinational engineers from the USA, Malaysia, France, and many other companies. It was one of my valued experiences that I have had in the oil and gas industry. Now, when I come home with Worley Parsons Nigeria, you would see my experience that I have gained. But I will start first here because this is my early on stages and how I show you how I moved from a CAD designer doing conceptual design on NLNG train 1 and 2. NLNG now is on train 7. I was on train 1 and 2, the first 2 trains before we got to train 7. So that there have been at least 7 years in between the development from train 1 and 2. And that was my first experience. And I worked in Netco as a CAD designer. Then I did some draftsman work, learning how to create piping isometrics, which you can see here. Then I did some piping design work, which was moving away from just doing isometrics to becoming a designer, and then establishing myself as a designer. So before I moved on to my as a pioneer staff in Delta Afrique, which is the experience I'm going to go back to right now. I spent 2 years of learning, 2 years of staying back and doing and delivering many hours while other people had left. I spent 2 years of trying to understand the terminology, and I spent 2 years of trying to be strong as a designer using software that was very, very relevant at that time. So I'll go back up to Delta Afrique experience. And then you see how I grew from a designer to a piping engineer, to a piping stress engineer, to a senior piping engineer, to a lead piping engineer. And then before I left as a principal and deputy chief engineer, all in 2013. And the variety of projects that I was on gave me a lot of experience. And you can see them here. It's with all the IOCs that we have in the country: ExxonMobil, Total, Chevron, and as well as ELF, when ELF was still standing on their own. So what I'm just trying to show you here is becoming a piping engineer is a gradual process. Becoming an engineer is a continuous learning process. And that process, I would hope that some of you would decide to come into the industry and become relevant. Now, a number of you may be asking me, why do I really need to go into engineering right now? Everybody's moving away from the oil and gas. Everybody's talking about ending fossil fuels, and everybody's talking about renewables and all that. Even in those sectors, you still need the specialties of piping engineering or civil engineering or mechanical engineers, as well as the electrical engineers that are working in that space. So just because one sector is becoming more less in relevance and another sector is growing does not mean that your knowledge and your ability is not going to be actually appreciated. Right now, even though I was a piping engineer in the oil and gas industry, I can be a piping engineer in the renewables industry. I can be a principal engineer in any other sector, because the thing is that you still need to be able to carry out some form of combination of energy, bringing different forms of energy together. And to be honest, fossil fuels is not going to leave us. It's going to be required. It's not going to be totally going to be in the extinct forms of energy. It can't, because it's required. So these are debates and discussions over the years that you will begin to understand that really makes you understand how the future of energy and the future of being an engineer in that sector is going to be. So becoming a world engineer, you have to be technically adept. You have to be ready to acquire the relevant training, either in the classroom or on the job, right, to be able to deliver. You have to be personally driven. Your desire to learn, your willingness to work and learn as you're working, and most importantly, even if you don't have an opportunity to work, to be able to temp an intern and learn and sponge off those that are your colleagues and your leads in that sector. Your attitude is most important. You cannot make it in this discipline or in this sector as a world engineer if you do not have a good attitude, and you must be humble. I say you must be humble because I will use the example I mentioned earlier, where I was working in a surgery as a surgeon in Paris on the East Area Gas Project for ExxonMobil. And I learned that being humble was very, very important. That experience taught me that no matter what you do in your career, you've got to be humble. And I will share that experience right now. I was working with a number of French engineers who were from Paragon Litwin. Paragon Litwin is a French company, engineering design company, like Delta Afrique, right, at the time. So I'd gone in to join their team of piping design engineers to be able to deliver on the project. When I got there, they asked me for my CV, okay, you're a piping engineer. Oh, you can do stress. Can you do stress for us? And I said, yes, I can carry out stress analysis. All the time that I'd said that, I did not know, unknowing to me, that they were looking for me to fail. They said, okay, let's keep the work that we do very well to ourselves, which is design, which he says he knows, but we won't give him that work, working on PDMS, carrying out the designs on PDMS and improving on the designs with the process engineers as well as the mechanical engineers. So they kept that core development activity to themselves and said, okay, we don't have a stress engineer on this and we need to carry out some stress on some lines. Can you do it? And they thought that, okay, let's know what he can deliver. Anyway, to cut the long story short, I spent 3 months carrying out 3 analyses on three key lines. And by the time I delivered that work to the engineering team, ExxonMobil engineering team, as well as Paragon Litwin, they brought in a French SME, subject matter expert in the field, who they had probably spoken to that, oh, just quickly go over there. You're going to do all that work again. We just have to, keep this man here because they've sent him from Nigeria to come and be with us. So the engineer that came in asked me, okay, he couldn't speak much of English. So what he just did is ask me for my calculation files. I gave him the calculation files. I gave him all my inputs, gave him all the relevant codes and standards that I referenced. And he went off, took the file on his flash drive, slotted it into his computer, opened up the software and began to review it. He reviewed all 3 analyses and went back, unknowing to me, to speak with the piping engineering lead that this guy has done a fantastic job. He has delivered better than a number of people that I know. Unknowing to me, I was sitting on my desk. They were talking right behind me in French. Didn't understand what they were saying. And then the piping engineer comes around and says, wow, Stefan says that you did a fantastic job. All he was just saying was, c'est bon, c'est bon, c'est bon, c'est bon. And to be honest, we did not know that you were capable, but the skills that you brought with you from Nigeria, we're very appreciative of it. And we're going to send this report to ExxonMobil as it is. It was the only number of reports that was sent to ExxonMobil that came out with a code 1. No comments, review, and just issue for the clients and issue as a final document. Because there was nothing wrong with it. The job was done excellently well. It was done painstakingly with the codes and standards, and it was delivered to the best of their knowledge, better than some of their engineers over there. I would show you an example of that work right now, just as after I go through the next few slides. Right? So becoming a world engineer, you got to be smart. You got to apply SMART, right? I'm not sure how many of you know this, but SMART means being specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and being time bound with your goals, right? So you must be specific with what you want to achieve when you want to become a world engineer. If you are not specific right now and you're still going around, sorry to say, like somebody who's doesn't know what to do, or somebody who's not focused, then you will not make it as a world engineer. You will not cross boundaries. You will not show your competency outside your home country. And to be honest, that's where you make a lot more money, when you can show your competency as a world engineer. So you want to be specific with what you want to achieve, and you must work towards being that. You must measure yourself. At every stage of my development, from a piping card designer up until when I became a specialized engineer, stress engineer, working in international offices, I was being measured by the feedback from my peers, by the feedback from the senior engineers when I was much younger, and by the feedback from my leads. And finally, on that experience that I just shared with you, by the feedback from one of the offshore engineers in the specific field. So that's how I measured myself, that I was moving ahead and developing myself. So you got to find a way to measure yourself as you grow. You must pursue attainable goals. You must say that, okay, before I get here, I must learn this. So when I told you I dropped down as an engineer with a master's coming back, I didn't come into Netco saying, oh, I have a master's, I can deliver anything that is complex. No, I went into the design office and dropped down to that level to work with draftsmen that had not come through university degrees, that come through technical colleges, and I learned from them, and I delivered within their space and got their own respect as well, before I now moved up to the higher areas based on my knowledge and my academic degree. So you have to set attainable goals within your career. You must be realistic with your progress. You cannot gain experience by speaking that you have experience. You must go through the rigors of gaining experience. You can't buy experience in the market. You cannot. You must go through that pain of learning, that development, exponential growth. You must go through that to get to the desired level of competency that you want to be. You must also set targets for yourself, dates to which you want to move away from one area of knowledge to another area of knowledge. I did it in 8 years in Delta Africa, and 12 to 13 years effectively between Netco and Delta Africa. And because I had gone offshore and spent time delivering in those spaces, I knew I had gotten to the peak of my technical experience. And it was a choice whether I stay on the desk or I go on to doing something else. So I set targets, I set dates, and I achieved those dates. So becoming a world engineer, you must be smart. Now, where do you start? If you don't have any expertise, you have to go to those that have expertise and experience. And that's why I co-founded Homerstone Limited a long time ago, about 10 years ago, to be able to actually pass that knowledge and experience. Now, Homerstone Limited can help you to become a world engineer if you want to, right? You can come and experience us on long duration programs. You can come and do some technical courses, high value discipline courses with us. or you just come to want to just improve your soft skills, you can come over. We've got the ICT program that helps you to attain that and achieve that. And also, we have a platform that we can use to train in any space that's not just engineering, in any space. It can be in the construction space, it can be in IT, it can be in any sector. We have that platform that we have delivered. And we are ISO certified as well to be able to be doing what we do in the sector. And so in the next coming months, we will be rolling out a number of core knowledge series that some of the team in the office will be closing out on in the next few weeks, and we'll be making that available to you through Esther and some of the other team members. We'll be moving our work skills program into becoming a modular course where you can come in at your time and at your pace and learn what it is. A lot of engineers that are now plying their trade outside the country, in Dubai, in the UK, you can learn that at your pace at a much more affordable cost to you. You can also learn specific discipline courses based on our experience. So like for me, for instance, you can come and learn about how to be a stress engineer in the space. We have those high value courses, technical courses that we can give to you on there. So that's the wrap, and I would be looking forward to having your questions. Just before I do that, I'm just going to show you the example that I said I would. Let me share that. Yeah. So, and after this, we can take some questions. Now, this was the analysis that was done while I was in Paris, right? And you can see the date on there. Is that a date? No, there is no date on there. No, okay. So this was carried out. I can't remember when it was, but this was the analysis that was analyzed and looked at by the French engineer. That's the checker there. That's his name. He's the expert engineer. That's the engineering manager who was a Stolt offshore lead. And this was my piping lead while I was on the job. And this was the extent of the work that was done. You can see the date. We did that in 2005 and 2006 while I was in Paris. We also delivered, if just going through this report, this is the extent of the knowledge that I had to have to be able to carry out this scope of work, right? The work that was done is detailed enough in here, and all this had to be put together. Just remove this. All this had to be put together after the work was done. So just to show you that once you're competent enough and you can deliver on this level, you are definitely going to be valued. And that's the sort of level. It's a 60 page report that was done over 3 months, carrying out stress analysis on one of the lines that was being designed. So stop sharing. I'll take any of your questions now, any area that you want clarity on, and let's go ahead.
Okay, so we have a question from, thank you for the presentation. I noticed like two persons joined in late. So probably they'll get the recordings, or Mr. T will be kind enough to just do a brief rundown. But anyways, we have a question from Mr. Henry Nwogo. He said, I studied petroleum engineering, a recent graduate with little or no experience in piping engineering. Will this be beneficial to me in terms of learning and development in the field?
Oh, yes. Who's that? Is that
Henry? Mr. Henry, you can please unmute yourself.
Okay. Henry? Okay. So specifically, petroleum engineering is a course of engineering, like every other engineering that we have, chemical engineering, electrical engineering. But when you come into the oil and gas sector, you pretty much have to fall into two areas. You either become a mechanical engineer or you become a piping engineer. And that's where most of what you will learn as you'd have learned in your degree as a petroleum engineer will be most useful. You will be able to come in and be able to relate with your knowledge and to be able to see new areas of knowledge that you gain. The thing is, piping engineering is not taught in the universities. It's actually a profession, and it's a profession that has developed out of the engineering degrees: petroleum engineering, process engineering, mechanical engineering. So you actually would be beneficial. It would be beneficial for you to be able to move with your petroleum engineering background, like I moved from my mechanical engineering background to be a piping engineer. I could have said I wanted to do statics design, equipment design, but I was more interested in stress analysis, and I did that on my degree, where I had to carry out a project where I had to analyze some plastic glass fiber reinforced columns while doing my project. So I got really into the analysis side of engineering. And that's where I now said, let me chart my career, start as a designer first and move towards being a pipe stress analyst. So definitely, you would definitely learn a lot, bringing your petroleum engineering experience and becoming a piping engineer or a mechanical engineer. I hope I answered your question. Henry? Okay. Okay, good. Any other questions or any other experiences you would like me to expand on technically? Okay. So I have Judith, Moyo, Remilekun. Everybody was clear and understood. Diol, Ayodeji is also there. Okay. Kenneth, okay, you want to speak? Can you go ahead and speak? Kenneth, you can go ahead and speak. I can see your hand is raised.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, good morning. Okay, so I want to ask if this piping engineering design is similar to what we have in pressure reduction skid, this pressure metering station, those pipings, if they have any relationship to do with that, where we distribute gas, the gas line.
Yes. Okay, so yes, piping engineering, all the aspects of piping engineering that is required on a site offshore or in the Niger Delta, Escravos, QIT, everything to do with piping there. Piping, for instance, is a connection of all the vessels that you have, all the metering points that you have, all the tank locations from the process side all the way through to the storage side. Piping is what connects everything together on a plant. Now, in achieving that, right, you can have it on a skid by itself with equipment, like you have mentioned, on a metering skid, where I think it's DPR and the IOCs measure what it is they're taking off their facility. You can have it in the process area where you're moving from the fractionating column. It's connection of pipes that move from that point all the way to the next process that needs to be done, whether it's a knockout, whether you're going to be scrubbing, whether you're going to be doing more process engineering processes on the fluid or on the gas. So really, piping is everywhere. It's everywhere on the plant. It connects everything, and it's a medium of moving the fractionated gases and crude and condensate from where they have been processed through the plant. Piping is what connects all that. And you can have that, you can come to Homerson and we can give you that experience. As I said, we're going to be rolling out some bite-sized courses very soon that will give you more knowledge of that to be able to decide whether you want to come and do an extensive training or come on one of our duration or do the modular EFD that we run. So yes, piping is what you have on the skids, is what you have on the plants, is what you have connecting the different areas. I'll just show you a picture of a piping area now, right, on also QIT when I was there. Okay, can you make me host so I can share? Esther?
Done, sir.
Okay, so this is piping. Can you see my screen? Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, so this is on the OSO platform in Akwa Ibom offshore from QIT. This is OSO Riser. And I went over here for a brownfield verification, and I have many other pictures here, right? And this is all piping. All this has to be designed. All this has to be put in the right order on a platform. And it's the way you actually move the crude from the riser when it comes from the wellhead into the process plant. You need to use pipes. And as long as all these fields are running offshore, these are the equipments that we run. We send the pipes into to actually work on the crude. They're separators, they're scrubbers. There's a large valves that you see here that are used to bring that on there. So this is what a piping engineer has to do: work on how to arrange everything on a platform like this efficiently, effectively, and safely. And you must understand that in engineering, the people that find the oil. The people that say we want to process it into different things, do all the analysis on a piece of paper. But it's the piping engineers that bring everything to life. We're the ones that bring it out and make it work for the billions of barrels of gas, of crude, of refined products that you actually use today. And these are the things that you learn as a piping engineer. So this is just an example, right? I hope I answered your question, Kenneth.
Okay, thank you very much. Well answered.
Okay.
I also want to ask if design of valves and probably flanges are also involved in such.
Yes, valves and flanges are all piping equipments that have to be that have to be specified. We necessarily don't design them. We specify them according to the class. And when I say classes, whether it's a hot process, it's a gas system, or it's a fluid and a gas system, which is a mixture of gas and crude, which can result in condensate flow, or it's just oil, pure crude. So it depends on the service, what is actually flowing through the pipes to be able to specify and spec the right valves, the right flanges, the right poundage ratings for the systems. Like for instance, gas is highly volatile, so you want to keep it enclosed as much as possible in the pipe. So you use higher poundage ratings of flanges and valves to keep it enclosed so that it doesn't leak. Because if it was to leak, it could cause you an explosion. So all that knowledge of picking the right specs, you learn it as a piping engineer. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm grateful.
You're very welcome. Do we have any more questions or requests for clarifications? None? Okay. So I hand over to you, Esther, if there are no more questions.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing with us your knowledge, being a piping engineer. And I believe this so like you said earlier, it's not just for a piping engineer. You can also translate it to whatever career you intend to do. Being smart with your decisions, being specific, knowing what you want to attain out of your career line and all of that. Thank you to all our attendees. We appreciate. We do hope that you learned a thing or two from this session. For those that joined in late, we would share the recordings with everybody, just in case you missed out on something and want to refresh your memory and all of that. So we'll share the recordings with you. It will be communicated via your registered email addresses. Thank you for coming on board. And as earlier stated, we'll be rolling out some of our courses. So it would also be communicated via emails via your registered emails. So you could have a feel of our courses. We have a core strength in engineering training, but that's not the only kind of training we offer. We also offer training in the construction space. We offer soft skills training, as Mr. T earlier mentioned. We can also give you a basic overview as regards digital literacy, that learning how to use the relevant, obviously to be a piping engineer, even to do whatever form of engineering you are in, you will definitely be working with Microsoft packages. For example, the report he showed us, he would have used the Microsoft Word to put that together, right, Mr. T?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So you have to be very
It's a baseline requirement in whatever career you're pursuing. So if you do want to find more info as regards our training, you could please communicate that. I would leave my number in the chat box, so you could send me a message. Also, in our subsequent mails to you, you could also leave a message for us. And as we stated that there was going to be a gift, like there was going to be something for people that registered. So basically, the two active participants that we have here, which is in person of Engineer Kenneth and Mr. Henry Ngobu, there would be a token that's courtesy of Mr. Taiwo. So this as well would specifically reach out to you, probably by your contact, so your registered contact. Thank you all for coming. We do hope you enjoyed it. If you do, please share the word, share what you've learned, with your friends, your families, and all of that. And we do hope we'll see you in the next one, because definitely, like I said, so in case you missed it, this occurs every month. So we'll be having a webinar every month. So you could always mark your calendar that Homerton is going to be having a webinar every month. I don't want to miss it. I believe you enjoyed this. And if you did not, please let us know so we could also improve. Thank you once again. And we have officially come to the end of this webinar. Like I said, I'll leave my contacts in the chat box in case you need to reach me. And in case you have any further questions, you could always connect with Mr. T via his LinkedIn page. You could follow us on our social media as well. Thank you. So my number is in the chat box in case you want to reach me. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. You have a lovely weekend.
Yes. Bye-bye, everyone, and do have a lovely weekend. Thank you. Bye.